Welcome to another edition of the Atlantic CIL podcast. I am excited today because I'm here with one of my new favorite people because we just started working together this year. This is Tadris Parker. He does great activities for us at the center. He has a great background in things that I think are really important, really essential building blocks of life: accountability, goal setting, staying motivated. I think those are kind of things we don't think about sometimes when we think about life skills. Like we think about like things you actually do, like, writing a check or learning how to set up your email. But if you don't have those foundational principles, it's hard to do those things. So I'm just excited to get started. So Tadris, my first question is, how did you get into this line of work? How did you get interested in this?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be on your show. It's been a pleasure to work with CIL and help provide some motivation, but at the same time, I understand motivation comes and goes. So I like to give the members of CIL and anybody that I work with tools and strategies that they can put into their toolbox and be able to handle every single day, because life is always going to bring you some challenges. And we either going to try to run the other way, or we're going to see how we can navigate around these different challenges, because there's no escaping challenges that's going to come up every day.
Really? You can't just hide in a corner and avoid it? Really? That's sometimes my strategy, but I think you're right that you have to, the older I get, the more I realize you have to deal with things. You can avoid things for a little while, but usually that just makes the problem grow bigger, and then you have to deal with that too. How did you get into this? What sparked your interest in this? Because you're really good at it. People love your workshops. They rave about them to me.
Thank you so much. You know what's interesting? I was listening to Tony Robbins once, and motivational speaker, and he was talking about when he was a kid, he used to think that he was going to grow up to be a rock and roll musician because of the heroes the bands that he would watch growing up. And sometimes when we're a kid, you have these aspirations or these thoughts or these goals, and you may not be that musician, but you find yourself on a stage like Tony Robbins did. Like, he's not a worldwide artist, musician, but he's a worldwide leader when it comes to motivational speaking and stuff like that. Well, when I was a kid, I was biggest Michael Jackson fan. Like, I used to love Michael Jackson, right? Still do. So that's when I was a young kid. I thought I would be on stages performing before a live audience. When I became a teenager, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. So I thought I was going to be a basketball player, right? I'm neither one of those today. Neither one of them, all right? But I am into sports, and the sport that I choose is to train beginners to run their first 5K. And it was something that I stumbled upon when it came to running. It was something that I stumbled upon as I was trying to get in shape for basketball so I can try out for the team. And as a teenager, I had asthma, I had breathing issues. So I said, if I'm going to play basketball, I need to be able to run and get my stamina up, my cardio up. So I joined cross country, and I wasn't that good at it. I was like last in a lot of the, but I learned a lot that season when I graduated high school, when I had children. Anytime I would put weight on, I would actually go back to my high school days and go jogging and try to get the weight off, right? And then years later, okay, now it's 2009. My wife is pregnant with our fourth son. And he's like, I'm 35 years old at the time. My older son is like, at the time, they were like 15. We could have been done raising kids. And here he's 35. Here's another one about to come out. By the time
you're starting again.
Yeah, by the time he's 15, I'm going to be 50. I'm stressing, guys. So I started stress eating, so she's pregnant. She's wanting all kinds of, food, extra food to feed the baby. And as a dad, I'm stressing out. So I'm stress eating. And then my sons, we were outside playing basketball one day. My youngest was only 2 weeks old when I ruptured my patella tendon in my knee playing basketball in the driveway. They took me to the hospital. They told me, sir, Mr. Parker, get on the scale. Get on the scale. Now, guys, I'm only 5'7". I got on the scale at 217 pounds. I had no idea that I was that weight, not whatsoever.
Wow.
I had no idea. I was 217 pounds. It was a long road to recovery.
How long was the recovery? How long did it take?
Probably I'm going to say a few years. So for those that's listening to this podcast, the scar goes from the top of my kneecap all the way to the bottom of the kneecap on the right-hand side. And when you rupture your patella tendon, those are the ligaments that covers your kneecap. So when it's almost like they are as tight as a guitar string. And when they pop, the kneecap moves up into my thigh. So my kneecap was floating around. And so that's why the scar is so long, because they had to cut it open and reattach the tendons back together. And so rehab was, you can only imagine. I think I was in a full leg cast from July until about close to November or something like that, November, December. And then it was a long road. I felt like it was a long road from there. I started going to the gym. My wife, some of my story too involves my family. Like my wife had gastric bypass surgery because she was very uncomfortable with herself, not happy with the weight that she was at. And so that surgery happened in 2009. My wife didn't have the surgery until probably like around 2011. And she had lost like 80 pounds. She wanted to lose more. I started taking myself a little serious. I started reading Runner's World magazine, and I started being inspired by the stories in the Runner's World magazine. So like a person was like 400 pounds and they started running, and now they're 185 and they did four marathons or something like that. These stories,
that's awesome.
like someone losing their leg, right, in a war. And then the doctor's telling him, you're crazy, you can't run. And he decided to go make a prosthetic leg. And now he's running Chicago, Boston, all these different things. So someone in my family, they saw me reading Run's World magazine and they said, I don't know why you read that. It's not like you run. I said, someday I'll be back, right? I'm going to get back into it.
Give me a minute. Go figure it out. You were just getting motivated.
Yeah, I was using those stories as, as a little motivation to get the ball rolling for myself again. So when she decided to have the surgery and I was counting calories, I got back into running 5Ks and my first 5K. See, that motivation from Runner's World magazine, there was a card inside and said, order this book, run less, run faster. And I'm like, wow, that sounds good. Run less, run faster. So I got it. And now for the first time as an adult, after surgery, at that time, I was running faster than I was when I was younger. So what was crazy was like that book helped me like in a major way. And I was losing weight. I had a plan for the first time as an adult, because again, as an adult, I will try to run in a way that we were doing in high school, which just wasn't working.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Like, how do you stay? I mean, it sounds like a basic question, but like, you accomplished this. How did you end up staying motivated? Because I think that's like a big part. People get all excited about the goal and then they lose the motivation quickly along the way. So how do you keep doing that? How did you keep doing that?
Well, I'm sorry, I was a little long on how I got started, but figure I'll tell you the whole story. So what happened was when she wanted to lose more weight, because she hit a plateau. And I started working with a nutrition company and became a health coach. And the health coaching, we were helping people with the diet, nutrition, and stuff like that. But it was for a company that sold supplements. I'm not with that company anymore because I learned some things that is a little healthier for people. So what happened though was when I was with that company, they said, wrap the business around things you enjoy doing. And we run half marathons and we bring people with us. And I was like, I never ran a half marathon, but I could teach people how to run a 5K. And so that's when the Couch to 5K in Galloway, New Jersey was originally born from that concept and that idea. And I used the book, Run Less, Run Faster, that helped me run my fastest race at that time. I used that to train the beginners at that time. Year 2, we came out with the name, Keep Calm and Run to the Best You, because in a world of so much chaos and hecticness, people stressing all the time, I wanted you to understand that you can keep calm and run to the best you. To answer, I have something, a whole thing about motivation, but one thing that I want to say to answer your question is, how do you stay motivated? Is because I'm helping others, because I'm taking my knowledge and I'm placing it, like I have a responsibility to help these people that I'm working with. And so the best way to help you, like anything that you learn, the way that you retain it and stay in the best shape of your life or be in the top of your game in your field, the best way to retain stuff is to teach it to others.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that before, that you've really mastered something if you can teach it to others. And that way you're doing something like, you're not as focused on the task, you're just doing it as part of, you're still doing it, but you're doing it with a group of people. So it's not as intimidating. It's not like, you're alone in this. What about goal setting? Like where do people start with goals? Because I think it's like, they think it's easy, but it's a lot more difficult than people think about. How do you set goals to keep yourself motivated and to build towards a bigger goal?
That's a good question. So what do you see back behind me on the wall? Can you see that?
Yeah, you got all these medals, these awesome medals. These awesome
Yeah.
medals.
Those are medals, right? So I'm going to talk to our community from a running standpoint, but I also want to talk to everybody to say that running could be a metaphor, right? So when you first get into running, you don't know what you're doing. So maybe you download a app like Nike app or something like that to help you get started. And that's a little motivating right there, because I just bought some new shoes. That's motivating, right? I just got this new app and it's pretty, it's nice. I want to see the numbers rise. That's motivating. But when you sign up to your first event and you put a bib on your chest, that's motivating, right? Motivation comes and goes. So it's very important for us to understand motivation. We're only motivated, as one of my mentors said, motivation is garbage. You have to understand what motivation is. Motivation comes and goes. You don't feel like doing something, you ain't going to be motivated.
Right.
So your why has to be bigger than your biggest excuse. You can be motivated all you want to get in shape, but are you willing to go to bed a little bit earlier, turn the TV off so that you can wake up to go to the gym, or wake up and put your running shoes on? Your why has to be bigger than your biggest excuse, right? You might want to run a marathon, but if it's raining outside, are you going to be willing to go outside to do that, right? During the rain.
This reminds me of something. One of my favorite sayings that stuck with me in high school when I was reading a book for economics, it was, there are no solutions in life, only trade-offs. And like, I think people get stuck because they're like, I want to be able to get in shape, go to bed when I want, eat when I want, and watch TV like I want. But the truth is, you got to give something up to get something in life. So you got to be able to, and once you kind of accept that, I think it's a lot easier than constantly being on the lookout for like this perfect solution where you can accomplish your goal without having to get something in return. So I think you're right. It's all about the trade-offs you're willing to make, and it's all trade-offs. And you got to be willing to make trade-offs and delay your gratification to get that bigger goal. And if you're not willing to do that, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, it doesn't work out, because you're right. I like that. Motivation is garbage. It's more about what you're willing to do. It doesn't matter if you're motivated if you're not willing to actually do anything.
Yeah. So the wall of medals there, what helps me keep going, not only the members that we have, but I do set goals for myself. So I set goals like, okay, we want to think about our goals in like increments, right? We have a short-term goal, a 3-month goal, 6-month, a year goal. All right. So I place, if we don't write them down, they just get forgotten about. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work. You were drinking in December and be like, hey, I want to do that in January. The gym is empty on February 1st, because people don't have these times. You got to put a time behind certain things. So I sign up to these races, and sometimes we get medals and sometimes we don't. So every race doesn't have a medal, but I have these milestones. Like, I'm going to go to Orlando. The first time I went to Orlando and ran Disney half marathon, I had no idea that that thought came into my mind, and I said, I started telling people. And 2 of my members was like, oh, we love Disney. We'll come with you. Like, I was going to go down there by myself for the first time and just see what it was like, and then come back to New Jersey and tell people. But it was so awesome to bring Allison and Dylan. They came down there with me. We had a great time at the park. And so when I have a vision, I will print. I printed the Magic Kingdom out and I put it on a vision board. And then I started working towards that. It's too overwhelming sometimes to think, how are you going to get to Orlando? At that time, I wasn't taking regular vacations at that time. How you going to take your son, your wife, and how y'all just going to get up from New Jersey and go to Orlando? You got bills to pay. All this stuff is happening. Man, I put that thing on the vision board. I started training. My energy, like you can, like as I'm sharing the story, my energy is picking up,
right?
Because I'm reliving that moment. And that's what it's all about too, creating these moments in time in which it's going to bring you some joy. It's going to bring you some satisfaction. So when I put that thing on my vision board and like, I just started breaking things down in small pieces. I just started working towards the goal and things just started happening. Like all of a sudden a check would come from nowhere that I wasn't even expecting. You know what I mean?
Right. And having that vision board makes it so you can't escape it. It's like right there. It's like, oh, you're right. I wanted to do this. So what am I doing to do that? Did I buy the plane tickets? Did I look into a hotel? And those are just little goals, because the more you do that, it becomes more finalized that you're going to go. Because now it's like, well, I'm not going to cancel because I booked that Airbnb. And now,
That's
so now I got to do this.
And you know what's interesting about what you said, because we actually talked about this on one of our calls with CIL on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday. We talked about this topic, and one of the things that we do want to caution and help individuals be careful of is when you create a vision board and you're not working towards what you said you wanted. You might have printed something out, something so big like a mansion or a lamp, like a big time thing. But again, did you sit down and calculate the cost? You know what I'm saying? If you want your business to go to the next level, or you want to make 3 calls every single, like, are you willing to make 20 phone calls? Are you willing to knock on the doors, right? Because what happens when you do create a vision board and you got that picture up there and you don't get it, you started doubting yourself and you start feeling like you're a failure. And you started putting it on the back burner and said, that's not ever going to happen for me. I never was capable of doing these things. We gotta kick those thoughts out of our mind. And when we do set an intention on something, think about the things involved in it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, and we'll talk about the calls too, where being, you want to strive. You don't want to be so down that your goal is just, but I think realistic is being important too. Don't put a mansion you're never going to get. Like, put it, if your dream is to get your own place, you're living in an apartment, put a nice house that's like within your reality of what you can get. Don't put, famous person's mansion that unless you win the lottery, you're never going to get. Like, don't make it harder on yourself, because like you said, then we start feeling like we're not making progress, but we could be making progress. We're just not giving enough credit to it. And our goals kind of out of whack where we are. I want to talk about the health connection calls we have at the CIL, because I really want to promote them. So what are they? I know they're virtual. I know about them, but people really love them. You guys discuss topics. How does it work?
Yeah, so Health Connection Calls was established in 2020. So just a little more history about Run to the Best You. That started in 2013. So nearly a decade of helping runners and walkers, cross finish lines for nearly a decade. And of all ages. Like, we got some 60-year-olds out there that's doing their thing.
Hey, 60-year-olds can go. They can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I read the Ray Kroc story. And he says that Ray Kroc, the owner of McDonald's, he said, everybody thinks that I'm in the hamburger business, but I'm not. I'm in the real estate business. And every time you think of McDonald's, you think about billions of hamburgers sold. But when you dive into that quote, you realize that McDonald's, they have the most prime real estate that you can find. Like, McDonald's are always in a nice, busy section, right?
Right.
So what we see isn't just the business, right? It's the real estate business. So for me, when people hear Run to the Best You, it's not just running, right? It's mindset. That's the biggest thing that I help people with, is their mindset. I have to plant the seeds of belief into their mind that at 59 years old, you seeing your friends cross the finish line at a marathon, half marathon, or whatever it is, that's absolutely possible for you too. Take my belief and put it onto you. So that's like the number one thing that I've been helping with people when I've realized that this is all about mindset. Losing weight is a mindset. Running your first race is a mindset. Opening up that business is a mindset. Having a successful family is a mindset, right? And so in 2020, what happens to everyone's mindset? COVID, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally got messed up.
So for me, before COVID, when I would run next to members, it was almost like a counseling session, right? Like the counseling, the coaching, that's when my other coaching came in. It was like before COVID, I'm talking about. Someone would talk about how bad their day was at work and how their boss is doing this. And then I'll try to talk them through it in a positive mindset. I'm a spiritual person, so I do try to, give them some advice in that level. And that's where my spirituality is where my love for people come from. And when you talk about, and it's an honor for people to say how much they love my energy or how much they love, I'm given that from my spiritual thoughts and teachings, right? So I'm running next to someone, I'm giving them some advice. Well, when COVID hit, man, you want to talk about some counseling, like every run session, I'm running next to somebody, how you making out? Oh my gosh, I'm a 52-year-old grandmother who 2 of my older kids live at home with me. She's pregnant, getting ready to have her daughter. She's stressing out. And my father's 85 years old, and I have to do a lot for him too. So I'm like, wow, how about I get you on a Zoom call and I coach you through some of these things and help you out. So I started like one-on-one coaching calls. And then that's when I established, hey guys, we train every Tuesday and every Thursday. How about on Wednesday, we jump on a Health Connection call and we'll just talk about topics so that you don't gain any weight during this COVID. How about we talk about, listen, I've been diving into intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about that this week. Next week, we're going to talk about how to avoid emotional eating. And I'm proud to say that our members did not put on that quarantine 15 due to the Health Connection calls.
Right, because they're connecting. And that was like, I know it sounds corny, but like it's so true. I mean, especially in that like peak of that pandemic, that beginning, I mean, it felt like the world was ending. So it was like, how can I focus on anything else besides what's going to happen tomorrow? So I just think that you had the right insight, that people were starved for that connection and they wanted something easy. They wanted to just be able to click and connect with people because they didn't know what was going to happen the next day. And I think it opened up your audience probably too to a lot of people who have disabilities and have, it makes it easier for them to attend. So people really enjoy them and it gives you a sense of community. It's non-judgmental. So, you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm starting intermittent fasting and people are like, oh my God, you're doing that? Like it's to talk it through and like, connect, because we're all doing this stuff and trying to sift through information. The other big thing I wanted to talk to you about, because this always sticks on my mind, and it was something we clicked when we first started doing these calls, is accountability, which I think is like the hardest thing for people to do. But when I notice, like when I look at successful people or read biographies of successful leaders, they tend to be really good at like holding themselves accountable and being objective about things instead of being like, not my fault. It wasn't me. I was, they're more like, that kind of sucked. Or I didn't do that. Like they're better. So how do you do, I think the hardest thing for people to do is to self-reflect and to keep themselves accountable. Because I think sometimes we give up our power in situations. Oh, there's nothing I can do. Oh, it's really hard. And a lot of times it is. But we do have a choice of whether we're going to give up or keep going.
Yeah, that is hard. So with our group training, the accountability portion of it, and anybody that signs up to our particular program, our private Facebook group is called the accountability group. We have online members that can't ever make it out in person. So they'll do the run, their training for that week, or that day, and they'll post it in the accountability group, giving them that sense of community, like, hey, I owe it to these online members to post that I did this. And believe it or not, it's very, very motivating and inspiring to those that, even though we didn't see Joanna Robbins from Ocean City, by the way, we know she got out there and got her workout in, and she's proud when other members are commenting on it.
Right. That's awesome. That's a great way to turn that, like the negative of social media into a positive, like, because not only are people getting motivated, but who maybe aren't doing the run or like, I can do it too, but also the person posting, they're actually getting those dopamine hits for like a healthy reason and not because, they went on some rant, on Facebook. Like that actually, it's a positive thing. It's a way to turn those algorithms into like something to reward you for doing something good instead of, social media a lot of times
Absolutely.
reward us for something, doing something terrible.
So yeah, I'm real big on. I've listened to books like Deep Work and Indistractable, different books that really helped you to put down your smartphone, like put this stuff down, stop posting everything in your world, the negative feedback that you get, the system trying to always grab your attention. So when I did start Run to the Best You, a lot of my foundational pieces members, they were on social media. So I got on there. And so like I built a community where if I go on there, I'm only celebrating our members. And then I also have a private group just for our members to be able to interact with each other. Once again, another form of the health connection call. So when I also want to make sure I say this, when I do health connection calls for CIL, I want to make sure that I'm giving you those mindset pieces to understand, like I just talked about earlier, there's a guy that lost his leg, but he's out there, he made a prosthetic leg and he out there running marathons. Marathons, it may not be your thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But one of the best motivational speakers in the world, I don't know his name right now, but the person that I listened to was like, my man came up on stage in a wheelchair and he started spitting game. He started dropping knowledge, and he's not letting his disability hamper him in any way. He's looking at his ability, not his disability, and he's making stuff happen. Just like you doing a podcast.
Yeah, well, and it's not, you gotta, at a certain point, and this isn't just true for people with disabilities, at a certain point you have to like own where you are and just start doing it and just start taking the steps. I think that's what I love your story, because I think, and I'm glad we opened with it, because I think people can look at you now and be like, oh, I'll never get there. I'm like, who's this guy in great shape telling me, I can do this. But you're like, no, I hit a rough patch and it was tough and I got through it. Like eventually you have to just like put one foot in front of the other. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. And I don't think you're saying like, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow or it's easy, but like, a big step could be just attending a Health Connections call, and there are no costs for the CIL. And then maybe you look at Tadris's other programming that he offers, and then you go forward from there. Maybe you attend a Health Connections call 1 month, and then the next month you do both. Like it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to go from 0 to 100 in a week. So, and that's probably not good for you anyway. So, yeah, I just think that's important too. Like, at a certain point, things happen to us and some of us get a really, really rough deal. But at a certain point, if you're still here, you have to move on. You have to move in any way possible. It doesn't have to be, running or anything, but you have to decide to progress.
And
go ahead.
It's all about creating healthy habits, right? So, and we like to call this also habit stacking. So habit stacking is, okay, I would like to start practicing yoga. I'm just using that as example. So what I'm going to do every single day, I brush my teeth no matter what. So I wake up in the morning, feet on the floor, go brush my teeth, go to the yoga mat, put it out for 1 minute. I'm going to do a high plank and a downward dog just for 1 minute. So all I'm going to do is 1 minute. And that's how the habit starts. That's how we start creating healthier habits, because that 1 minute eventually is going to turn into 2, going to turn into 3. Pick up, you want to start reading a little bit more. Have a book or a magazine that's going to help you, right? I got a magazine right here. You know what? I really don't have a lot of time. I'm super busy, but you know what? I got 3 minutes. Let me read what I can for 3 minutes.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. Instead of feeling like, oh, I'm doing yoga now, so I have to devote my whole life, my whole morning to yoga. Like, that's not how humans work. People don't want to do that. Going from not doing yoga at all to putting a mat on my floor. Now I'm dedicating an hour. It might not work. Yeah. It probably won't work because it's just so overwhelming and not how kind of humans' minds work. So tell me about the success of your program. How many people have you helped? Is it just for people in Atlantic County? How has it grown?
We are continuing to grow. Some of my early success, I just want to say some names like Richard Prewster. We helped him lose 100 pounds. We helped Jessica Weinstein. I mean, when I talk about someone losing 100 pounds, he was like 360, 380. help her lose 100 pounds, run Wildwood half. At the time, Jessica, she came in at the same time he did. We helped her lose 85 pounds, and she could barely run for 15 seconds. We got her to do the Wildwood half marathon as well. You know what I mean? Those were like some early pieces. Now we got mothers like Chris Ballard, you know, mother of triplets, coming out here doing half marathons. We actually extended our reach to be able to, through podcasting. You know, one of my good members, Jen Burke, you know her very well.
Yes.
She told me that you were going to be starting a podcast and may have had some questions, because I've been doing my podcast we're going into the 3rd year of the podcast. So what I want to say about that, you know, we've been able to do online clients. We have Laura and her son all the way in California. And because of my relationships here in South Jersey, I have a relationship with the Atlantic City Marathon Series. So we help people train no matter where they are in the world. And Atlantic City Marathon Series would be like, you know what? You're going to run the race virtually. That's another thing that COVID did, right? Once again, how is your mindset? COVID knocked out races for almost a year and a half. All right. So my business could have my whole training program could have just took
right, you could have packed it up. You could have packed it up.
Yeah. So check it. I just kept running those races. The race got canceled or turned virtual. We ran the races on the day that it was supposed to be on, whether it was virtual or not. The virtual thing gave us an idea. I'm like, all right, listen, I've been doing this podcast, mindset pieces, running tips, weight loss, intermittent fasting tips. And so Laura reached out from California. She was like, I found your podcast. I love what you do. I said, listen, let's get on a FaceTime call. Let's get on a Zoom call. I'd love to meet you. Listen to me. I was so, like, their faces were so lit up. I mean, I don't feel like a celebrity, right? I really don't. Right. But to see their faces, like, we cannot believe we're looking at you right now. You know what I mean? We're so excited to be meeting you. So they became members of ours. They subscribed to our monthly subscription to our service. I had a client in New Zealand because of the podcast. So guys, listen to me. We are able to help you with running, walking, weight loss, mindset from no matter where you are, locally or.
I'm just curious. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm very fascinated by this. How do people run races virtually? Like, how practically does it work? Are people in their house running races? Like, what are they doing?
So you got to think about it, right? The organizations that's trying to raise money. In fact, you're good friends with Hackett, right?
Yeah, with Jacob. Yep.
Okay, so Jacob Hackett, South Jersey Field of Dreams. During that COVID, I did a virtual Keep Calm and Run to the Best You 5K. So I'm a race director for a few races, right? And the race that I am totally fond of is our own 5K to help support South Jersey Field of Dreams. Well, you know, during COVID, how are they going to get any volunteers? How are they going to get any funds coming into their program? So I said, hey, it may not be as strong as it normally is, but we'll do a Keep Calm and Run to the Best You virtual 5K. We set it up or run sign up, and people from around the world, you know, or in our local community, you basically you sign up to a virtual race, and they'll send you the medal in the mail, whether you ran it or not, or they'll send you the shirt, whatever swag that comes with the race, they'll send it to you. But some races are very serious. Like I made sure mine was serious. I said, it has to be ran on this particular day, and you upload your time. So you use your Nike GPS or whatever GPS app that you're using. You run the 3.1 miles, which is the 5K. You run that 5K, you clock it, and you upload it to the website. And then the website will have databases of everyone turning in their time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you know, it sounds obvious now that I'm thinking about it. It really doesn't matter where you run as long as you run the miles. So
we're still able to raise money for the foundations that needed the money. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think that's a real important thing too. Like, you looked at COVID as an opportunity instead of, it was a roadblock, but you were like, all right, how do we get around this? How do we deal with it? Because there was a big opportunity. We're going to link to everything in the description, your podcast, the Keep Calm and Run to the Best You. They can get the full Tadris treatment experience. And what is your podcast name, by the way?
Keep Calm and Run to the Best You, the podcast.
I know. Well, funny story. So I told my podcast producer, his name is Jacob as well. He was in an interview before. he's awesome. And he goes to me, he goes, Donald, what's the name of your podcast? Said it's called the Atlantic CIL podcast. He's like, that's it? I'm like, listen, Jacob, you have never dealt with trademark issues. We don't need that. I don't want to name it something cool because somebody else is going to say, I got that. And now I'm going to, deal with it. So I'm with you, Tadris. I think keep it simple. Say what you are and hit podcast at the end of it.
Well, what's funny is the original name was the Running, Intermittent Fasting, and Weight Loss Podcast. I didn't want to come off of that name because I love, those are the three topics that I talk about the most. And one of my members, she lives in another state and she's like all into branding and stuff. And she said, why don't you name the podcast after the name of the company so that everything is all in uniform? So I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. So then I changed the name.
Right. See, look at that. See, now I feel good. We have a branding expert. Like, keep it simple. Sometimes people get too pretty. Like some of the most popular podcasts ever. Joe Rogan's podcast is not called anything but Joe Rogan. Like,
That's it.
Keep it simple. So we're wrapping up here. And I just wanted to ask, what are kind of like the 3 or 2 key points to getting those big goals done? If you want somebody to take away something from this podcast, what would it be? If they were like, I really want to run a marathon, Tadris, but I hate running, but I want to do this. What do I got to do? What is my first steps?
Okay, first step is to connect with Coach Tadris because we put the fun in run, right? So we're going to put the fun in run. That's something that I'm coining. It's on our website now. We put the fun in run. And when you open up our website, you see the big man. He's running across the finish line with his arms open, biggest smile on his face.
It's true. Nobody's sad. No,
listen. We put the fun in run. So here's how we do it. And this is why it's important to actually connect with the community. So even if it's not me, you have a local area, run group in your area, whatever. Connect with other people because sometimes what's easy to do is also easy not to do. So if you know that you're going to be meeting people at the park, you're going to be more likely to go out there than if you were alone and it was too hot or it was too cold or it was raining and stuff like that. So having that accountability partner will help you stay motivated. Signing up to an event. So that's why when people sign up to our program, we will sign you up for a race, right? So any beginners out there, the first event you want to do is a 5K. That's the introductory to before you go up to a half or a full or a half marathon or a full marathon. You want to get those smaller races under your belt, get a little bit of experience. And then what we actually do, Donald, is we teach a run, walk, run method. So for anyone out there that say they hate running, the beautiful thing is we don't have you run the whole entire time. The run, walk, run method that I adopted helps you to recover. You have less injuries, less pain in any parts of your body. You can control your breaths. Listen, we just partnered with Atlantic City Marathon Series. We've been a partner with them for a while, but now some of their board members just signed up to our program because they want to go run races in Orlando, and they have not had a trainer. So I've been working with them for like a year and a half on some of their committee stuff, but now we're actually training them and they absolutely loved it. And one of the members, she's like 52 years old and she wants to get, some pounds off. Her run, walk, run method is going to be 15 seconds of jogging with a 30-second strategic walk break. And she can repeat that for the whole 3 miles. So I'm showing you the range. Whereas another person, they might be able to run a 9-minute mile. So they are running for 2 minutes with a 30-second walk break. This run, walk, run will help you to enjoy and love running, all the benefits without none of the pain.
Right, you don't have to feel like you have to run like you're running for the Olympic team. You're just trying to accomplish this goal. So I took from that, I think I really took from that, really start with getting a sense of community. Like even before you get to the goal, get wrapped into a community of signing up, of going to the website. I recommend Coach T. I don't know, maybe you can use some other people, but I recommend Coach T. And, look at it like that, like kind of a social thing at first, and then get to the goal. Because you're right. It's like, when you don't want to go somewhere, somebody's got something planned, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go. Well, if nobody you really know is going to be there, you're less likely to go. But then once you start going, it's like, oh, I don't want to let this person down. They're looking forward to seeing me. So it becomes less of a chore. So I really got from that. And also, working with somebody like you get a method on how to do this. It's not like you just show up to the race and Coach T is like, good luck. I'm going to be over here. Good luck. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. I wanted to ask you one last question. I just thought of anybody with like a physical disability like me or any type of disability. I'm sure you've worked with a lot of people that have had different disabilities because, as we know, 1 in 5 people have a disability. So even if they're not coming out with the disability shirt on, and you do get a shirt once you admit it. It's like the X-Men. They send you something in the mail. But they should feel motivated to do this too, because I'm sure there's different ways you can work with them.
Yeah, there's been times where a parent member of ours may have brought their child out with a disability and they just walked. We have a 100% walking side of our program too. So anyone out there that has a knee issue or back and just say, I just can't run, then they still can sign up to our program and be a walker as well. I've had mothers pushing their disabled child in a stroller or in a wheelchair and just still watch that person light up as they're going around the course. So there's something for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love the walking lane. I love because, you're doing something. You're making progress towards something. Not everybody's goal has to be this champion runner. It could just be to get out there and to get motivated and to be doing something healthy. And that's good to build on. So
let me, if I may, can I actually tell you guys a couple of things that we got coming up?
Yes, promote away, promote everything.
Because that segues perfectly. I started a streak. It's called hashtag Coach Tadris Streak. So my man will put the spelling of my name and all that stuff in the show notes. But it's walk or run a mile a day, at least a mile a day. Walk or run a mile a day. So streak runners wouldn't consider what I do as a streak because they say you got to run the whole time and you got to do at least 2 miles or at least 3 miles. So I started the streak because I wanted to encourage, like I said, our members are walkers, people to just get up and get active and get moving. Go walk a mile a day, right? It doesn't, even if a person has a disability and they can't walk a mile straight, but they can do 3 10-minute blocks, right? And they cover a mile in that time. Marie Geary, she's over 800 days. And today, as we're recording this episode, I'm on day 934. So my comma day, which is big in the community of street runners, day 1000 is a big day. So on July 28th will be my 1000th day celebration. And I'm using the rest of this time to help support the South Jersey Field of Dreams again. And so Common Day celebration will be held on July 28th at the South Jersey Field of Dreams. And your donations will go towards that 5K. We're going to have a DJ come out and there's going to be a party. We have a local restaurant. Their name is Roman's Pizzeria. So you can order pizza if you want, but there are also healthy options for people to order from the restaurant. People can sign up as a team. It's going to be a big party, and I'm inviting people to go to it. It's only $10 to register for the 5K itself. And if you want to add our motivational shirt, you can actually do that through the website as you're signing up for the event. You don't have to buy the motivational shirt, but you can add it. I'm just going to throw the dates out there. Let me wrap this up. That's July 28th. It's a Thursday night. It's a big party, right? But on June 6th, any beginners out there can come and register for the 5K training. It's an 8-week training program for any beginners out there. And then their first race will be on Common Day. Awesome.
Yeah, go party with Coach T. Go party with the Field of Dreams crew. Jacob, I'm sure, is going to be there. I mean, that's a good crew. And, get out there. And I want to go again before we end. It's more about the community is what lets you, and having that support is what lets you go for those goals and keep yourself accountable and feel not alone and all that good stuff. So just one step at a time and just work towards something. You'll get there. And I love doing this podcast with you, Coach T. You're such a professional. You wrapped up right on time. Look at this. That could be your new membership plan. Had a podcast, and we could come in and, you know, teach people how to wrap up, do all the technical stuff. So thank you, Coach T. Thank you for doing that. Go to the Health Connection calls. And when are the Health Connection calls for the CIL, Coach T?
Our next Health Connection call is this Wednesday. It's the 20th. It's every second and fourth Wednesday of the month.
And go to our Facebook page, Atlantic CIL, and you will see it. We promote it. We really try to promote it. People love it. Just go. I always say one of the things we say at the CIL is it's not a marriage proposal. You could click it, go to it. He's not gonna like make you come back again, but I think you will if you try it. So just dip your toe in a little bit and do something new. All right, thank you, Coach T, for joining us, and I'm sure I'll have you back again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Guys, keep listening to this podcast. It's a lot of energy. I love it. Once again, it was a blessing to be able to be on and share my thoughts with you guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.